Hey guys, what's up? It's the Knife Enthusiast here, coming at you with my second Balisong Collection video. So a lot's changed since the last video. I have a brand new custom knife storage case, as you can see there, along with a lot of new Balisongs since the last video. If you're familiar with my channel, you've probably seen the unboxing on those, but if you're new and this is your first video of mine that you've seen, then stay tuned and you'll see those in a second. Now, before I get into showing you the knives, I want to talk a little bit about this case. I had this custom ordered probably back in January. I finally got it in February. It took a couple weeks to get in, and it was great. I had it custom made for 7 shelves. I only needed about 3 to show off all the knives in my collection, but I wanted more room for expansion, so I added 4 more shelves for more space in the future when I get more knives. So that was good. It has magnets to keep the doors stuck to the case, you know, not just kind of hinging open or anything like that. Also, it is lockable, so you can lock the case, keep it for safety reasons, I guess you could say. Just lock the case. Little handles on the door, which is nice. It is wall mounted. You can also get it in non-wall mounted, but I thought it would look cooler mounted on the wall. So also, main feature, as you can see here, see my hand, see me in the background, hello. I added a mirror back. So the mirror back was mainly just to add kind of depth to show, just kind of look cooler. I could have added a black background, or I could have added no back to it and just had the brown wall that you see now. That would have kind of looked disgusting. So went with the mirror back. I think it looks really cool. This case, the main reason I actually decided to get it was because my old knife storage system, my old knife storage system, which is down here. You can see it is pretty dull. It's a toolbox, just black, and you can't see any of the collection. It just looks like a black toolbox. So the main problem I had with it was that you couldn't see your knives. Now, for someone that only has a couple knives and they're just flipping, doing flipping videos, that's fine. But for me, my collection kept growing and growing, so I wanted to have something to show it off and look at, and that kind of thing. So I decided to stretch for this new acrylic case here, and I think it turned out really well. Originally, I was just kind of going to lay the knives down flat in the actual case, but I decided to get some stands off just various websites. They are 3 knife stands, I guess you could say, so it holds 3 knives per stand, 2 knives per shell, 7 shells, so that's like 14 shells. I only have 7 shells in there right now, so I've still got half the space left to go. So it is a great system. I love how the stands turned out. It just presents the knives very nicely, and it's an overall great system. Since it is lockable, the main reason I like it is because I used to have some buddies of mine come over and they had no idea how to flip, so it was pretty bad. And on the old system, I'm not even going to show it to you again, I was about to, but you had to open up the lid and then pull out the drawers, and once you pull out the drawers, there's nothing there to stop them from being like, oh, can I look at this one, pick it up, and start flipping. So I didn't want them obviously touching my knives, so this is a nice solution. They can easily look at my knives. It's lockable, so they're not going to be able to unlock it unless they really, really want to for somehow lockpick it or something. I don't know. But they're not going to unlock it. They can look at the knives and they don't have to touch them and cut themselves and have some sort of accident. So I really like the feature that it's open, you can see it, and it's very functional because I can just reach in there, grab a knife, pull it out, not have to open up a lid, open up a drawer, and pull it out. So love this new knife case, and finally, let's go ahead and do some close-ups of the knives and show you the knives themselves. They're all on their own stands, so very nice. Get this nice and positioned here for you guys. As you can see here, hold on a minute. I'm gonna have to move the tripod around because this is kind of a large case, so I can't really fit all the knives in very well. Alright, there we go. Got the zoom in feature. So get a nice zoom in there. Good. So as you can see there, back out of the frame a little bit. This is the first knife I want to show you. Is technically not a Balisong, it's a folder. It's just my personal favorite knife in my collection, not for functionality, just because it looks cool. It's my favorite for aesthetic reasons, I should say, not for flipping or whatever use. But I actually got this when I was on a road trip. We were in Santa Fe, and we decided that I wanted to stop by and look at their custom knives. So while I was there, I saw this Sprint Run Spyderco Enduro that had a stag handle. So what they did was they took the stag off for me, and we designed this kind of pattern. They already had the kind of the basic design for the spider web, but it also had I also decided to add this lapis lazuli on the edges there. The background of the web is mother of pearl, and the lines are abalone. Also has the Spyderco logo. I don't know if you can see that there. Spyderco logo there climbing up the web. It's kind of an artsy kind of thing. It's also the exact same design on the back, and it also has another Spyderco bug on the back. So I thought that was kind of cool. Damascus blade, anodized blue titanium bolster. Turned out great, and I love it. So that's the first knife I wanted to show you. Now we'll move on to the Balisongs. So we'll go ahead and zoom out here. Move the tripod a little bit over here. Like I said, I'm going to have to be a little bit shaky. Move the tripod down a little bit, mainly because I have to adjust it and whatnot to show off the knives properly. So that should do it for there. Right about there. Good? You can all see that? Great. So first up we have the Spyderco Balisong family. I used to have a black G10 Spyderco small fly. In fact, I still do, but I don't add it with the other collection because I'm trying to sell it, so I want to kind of detach myself from that knife and not consider it part of my collection, so I keep it separate. But these are what I like to call it kind of the true family. They all have stainless steel handles with that nice matte finish. This is the stainless steel small fly with the channel construction handles, whereas the G10 only has sandwich construction. My personal favorite is it's a little bit heavier, more balanced. It's thinner, and I love the channel construction, so it's a great overall knife, and one of my favorites. It's my favorite small Balisong kind of flipper. Next is the VG10 Spyderco Spiderfly. That was actually my second or my third Balisong that I ever received. It was a great Balisong. Only problem was it was a little banged up when I got it. It had one scratch in the side of the handle. Could never get that to buff out. I had a couple of scuff marks at the end of the handles, but because of this matte finish, I took it to a couple of knife places, and they said they couldn't buff it out, mainly because the matte finish would just make it look shinier if they tried to buff it out, and the matte finish would go away. And I just decided to leave the scuffs there. They weren't that bad, but oh well. Had to put a new tip on it too because the tip was bent. Moving on, the Zabo fly. I actually did kind of a double unboxing on my channel, which you can go check out, on the small fly and the Zabo fly. So I got them at the same time, kind of a double deal. The Zabo fly, probably, I don't know, I guess I would say it's probably the worst flipper I own, but it's very unique, I would say. Not really the worst, but it's got a lot of features that don't make it really a preferred flipper. It's a great self-defense, great for a collection to look cool, but you can do some basic tricks with this and that kind of stuff, but the handles aren't really designed, and the blade and a little point on the blade kind of pokes your hands. So the whole knife isn't really designed for flipping. I would say it's more self-defense with a Balisong kind of feel to do a basic opening and get it out fast. So great knife for a collection, and great that I could complete the family. No, I'm not going to be getting a rainbow Spiderfly because I don't really consider that a necessary addition to make a Spyderco family. It's basically a Spiderfly with a different finish. So technically I consider that the Spyderco family, the whole matte finish stainless steel handles, and love my Spiderfly, my small fly, and my Zabo fly. Looks really cool, but not my favorite for flipping. So zoom out here. Moving on to my personal favorite shelf. Put this over here quite right. Move the tripod down like so. Handle's going to be a little bit in the way there on the door. Hopefully we can fix that. So, okay, we can see that? Good. So I'll move out of the picture here so it doesn't autofocus. Hopefully. So up here is my dad's anodized blue Tempest. He actually sent it back to me mainly because he cut himself with it. He decided to stop flipping for a while, so I don't know if he's going to stop flipping in general, or if he does, then I'm going to be keeping that, but for right now it's undetermined. It's got a very nice blue finish on it. Love that electric blue. Only problem is maintenance. Every time you touch it, it turns blue in some areas. It looks all scuffed up and beat up, but it's actually just discoloration. So not a big fan of the blue anodizing for maintenance, but it looks really cool. Protect Flyfather. It's a great knife, not really made for flipping. And one thing, going back to the Tempest, Tempest is my personal favorite knife for flipping, which I'll talk about more when I get to my own personal Tempest, the silver. Let's just move on to the ProTech. So ProTech has this nice orange peel finish. Don't have any other Balisong with that finish on it, and it feels really good for flipping. Finish is the same way on the blue. If you touch it, some parts turn purple and you kind of have to clean it off a little bit. But not my favorite for flipping, mainly because this is a Blade Show 2012 edition. I think it's number 15 of 25. It's a prototype, so the latch actually hits the blade. It doesn't have a latch gate like the production Flyfathers did. So the latch hits the blade. It's kind of awkward to flip, and it's not really the best flipper, but it looks really cool and it's a great collector's piece and that kind of thing. Has ball bearings which make it very, very smooth, which is a very big plus to the knife, so love that. Moving on to my personal Tempest, this is the silver, or the non-anodized Tempest. It's probably the best flipper I own. Very balanced, super smooth because of the bushings that have in it. Probably the smoothest knife I own. It's very quiet, and I love the, I guess, beveled or smooth dual tang pins on the Home Tempest. It just looks very nice, and it's probably the best flipper I own. I'll talk more about it in a review, but love the Home Tempest. Just great. What more can I say about the Tempest? Not much. Great knife. Flip it a lot, but not as much as my other ones. So here's a nice shot of those. Trying to go kind of fast because I have a lot of them to get to, and not much time left on my camera. So moving on down. Can we move on down here? Kind of, maybe. I think that's about right. Okay, let's get a good, nice zoom in there. Move on to the 42 family, as I like to call it. Perfect. So, start off, we have the Benchmade 31, which is the smaller version of the Benchmade 42. It is probably the best EDC Balisong in my opinion, although I would never EDC it, mainly because it's rare and old, and I just love it too much to get rid of it. I don't flip it as much because it's a mirror edge. Just did a review on it if you want to check that out. Just have some more specs on it, but it's a smaller version of the 42. It's lightweight, balanced, and it's very smooth for flipping, and just like its older brother, the 42. Moving on to the 42. The 42 is probably the most well-known Balisong out there in the community. It's mainly well-known for being perfectly balanced, perfectly perfect weight. It's just very smooth, lightweight, just moves fast. My personal favorite Balisong for the longest time until I got the Tempest. I still kind of go on and off about it sometimes, 42 and the Tempest, but right now the Tempest is still my favorite. But 42 is probably the second best Balisong you can buy, and it's more readily available. It's harder to find, but a Home Tempest is very limited, so I would it's a very limited run on the Home Tempest, so it's very hard to find. So that's why it's not as easy to get a Home Tempest as a 42, because there are literally thousands of 42s, but there's only, I believe, 120 Tempests. So moving on to the 62. This was the 42's replacement after the 42 was went out of production in 2009. This came out in 2012. It has stainless steel handles, whereas the 31 and the 42 had titanium handles. The 62 has stainless steel handles, making it very heavy, and not many people liked it because it was just so heavy. They went back to the T-latch instead of the spring latch on the 42, as you can see there if my hand was out of the way. So it still has this nice kind of blade, a little bit of a thicker blade. This one's a little skinnier, whereas that one's a little thicker, if you can know what I mean. But it's a very nice utility blade. It'd probably be a great EDC Balisong, but for flipping, it's kind of like flipping bricks, I would say. It's really heavy and not really my favorite for flipping, but it looks really nice, and I'm glad I got it as a gift, because I probably would have never bought it on my own, just because it's just really heavy. It's like 6.0 ounces, and my preferred weight for flipping is 4.2 to 5 ounces. So that's that. Move on to the next shelf. Now this shelf wasn't really organized exactly, based on any type of particular family or whatever you want to call it. This was mainly just because I had some shelf space left, and I need to put some knives on there, so that's exactly what I did. Got a good shot of all the knives in there. Okay, let's go. So this is my kind of particular favorite Balisong at the moment, mainly because I've been looking for a cold steel Archangel for 3 years, never was able to find one until a YouTube buddy of mine informed me of one on Jersey Devil. I immediately bought it, and I have not regretted it since. It's my third favorite flipper. It's great. It's well balanced. It's basically a longer version of the 42, I would say, but I don't think it flips as... It flips very close to the 42, but I still think the 42 has a sorry about that, has a slight advantage to the Archangel. T-latch is not as bad as the 42 T-latches, as I go over in the review. It doesn't get in the way as much, but it still kind of gets in the way, and I'm not a big fan of T-latches. So great knife, titanium handle, channel construction. This is a very hard one to find. Like I said, it took me 3 years. They did not make as many of these as they did a 42, but there are still a few of them out there. Most of them are in kind of bad shape because they have a corrosion problem because of the blade seal and the handles, but for the most part, these are a great Balisong. They just take a little bit of maintenance, and they're hard to find, but well worth the money. This is a DDR tactical Trident blade Balisong. I believe they still have them on Blade HQ. I got one of the first ones. I don't know if it's a first production, but I think it might have been a first production. It's got titanium handles and this nice Trident blade. Weighs about 5.9 ounces, I believe, to be exact, which if you want to flip a heavier Balisong so you can go back to a lighter Balisong and do your moves faster, this is, my opinion, the best one. 62 weighs a little bit too much for that. This one is not too heavy, not too light. It's very beefy. Has some very thick handles, probably the thickest handles out of all my Balisongs. All the edges, including the spine, handles, everything is rounded off. That's kind of a DDR kind of signature feature. He rounds off all the edges, so everything is very, very slick and smooth, runs really well, and it probably has some of the best ball bearings that I've ever seen on any Balisong so far. It's a tremendous Balisong. It's really overlooked in the Balisong community, mainly because there's not that many of them out there, and not that many people have actually flipped them, but I honestly think that this is probably the best heavier type Balisong out there, although it is a little bit more expensive. I think they actually dropped the price down on Blade HQ a little bit, so it's not as expensive as it used to be, but when I bought it, it was like 370 bucks, which was, I think it was like $5 more than the Alpha Beast, which I'll talk about in a second, but the Alpha Beast is a much better flipper than the DDR Tactical, but this one is just the quality, the craftsmanship, or not the... craftsmanship is debatable. This is a big debate in the knife community about DDR and his quality checks, but I still like DDR. I went to his factory, met the guy, he's a great guy, and I love his product. So this is probably one of my favorite knives because it's so smooth and just, I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite knives. I love flipping this knife. It's very smooth, comfortable. So next up is the Benchmade 51. It's a pretty well-known one around here. It's about 3 point something ounces, don't know the exact weight. G10 handles with crowned anodized blue titanium scales. Also has a drop point kind of blade custom there. Has a semi spring latch. I call it a tension latch because it doesn't really use a spring. It uses tension to pop open in a way. So it's kind of a tension latch. So it does pop open like a spring latch, but it does not stay straight. It kind of flops around a tad bit. But it is still probably, in my opinion, the best kind of mid-range, not mid-range, but kind of if you are trying to transition into more quality, better flipping, more expensive knives, this is where you would want to start as a 51. It's about $200, something around that range. It's a great quality flipper to start out with to work your way up to more advanced flippers like a Tachyon 2 or an Alpha Beast. So move out of there and we'll move down. Can I go down any further? All right, gonna have to go down here for a second. Move the whole tripod down. Sorry about this, guys. Just gotta do what you gotta do. Get the whole shot in there. I think that should do it for that. So since we're already down here, we might as well go ahead and move this out of the way. Sorry for all the movement. There's just a lot of stuff around here, so I don't have much time to move all of it. Weird position I was in there. There we go. So I think we have a nice, zoom in a little bit more. Kind of see that. So this is the Tachyon 2 Alpha Beast shelf. This wasn't really organized either, except for putting the 1 and the 2 together. So first up is the Alpha Beast. The Alpha Beast is probably one of the best production flippers out there. I don't know if it's discontinued. I know that they ran out of stock on Blade HQ, but I don't know if they're going to be making more or if they discontinued it because the replicant is coming out soon. But the Alpha Beast was considered, I'll just assume it's discontinued for video purposes. It was the best production flipper out there since the 42 or any of its early predecessors back in the early 2000s. Back in 2012 when it was first introduced, it was probably the best production Balisong you could buy. It was made entirely by professional flippers, Knifezoid and Lucifer I think it is, and they designed every feature of this knife for flipping. It was designed by flippers for flippers, and it's one of the best Balisong. Hey guys, sorry about that, my camera died. So like I was saying, this is probably my 4th favorite flipper out of all my knives. The order, you know, the top 5 order fluctuates all the time, so sometimes it's first, you know, that kind of thing. So it's not set in stone, but this truly is a magnificent Balisong, and what I really love about it is it's not made by a production company or somebody that just reps out a ton of them. It was made by 2 really great flippers, maybe more, I'm not exactly sure, but I know it was Knifezoid and Lucifer that designed this knife strictly for flipping. They got it into production and they started producing it on their own, so it's not like they were some big company that just started making these. These were a couple of guys that were really great flippers that decided to make a knife that was truly dedicated to just flipping, and I love that knife. I love the fact that there's a story behind it that's designed that way, and it's one of my favorite knives, if not one of the best Balisongs in my opinion of all time, just like some of these other ones. So moving on to the Tachyon 2. Tachyon 2 was released at the exact same time the Alpha Beast was released, but it was more on a production level, like Microtech. Microtech made the Tachyon 2, so they kind of, I don't know if they made a couple thousand, they probably made maybe a couple hundred or 1,000, not exactly sure the exact number, but the Tachyon 2 is a pretty popular flipper in the flipping community. I don't know if it's better than the Alpha Beast or not. I don't really have an exact opinion on that. A lot of people are flipping the Tachyon 2s, a lot of people are flipping the Alpha Beast, so kind of a 50-50 split on there, but these two were the biggest competitors back in 2012, kind of 2013, for, you know, which one was the best production flipper of that year. So the Tachyon 2 has a lot to offer. It's got phosphorus bronze washers, I believe it has bushings. It's got a nice buoy blade. They extended the handles. My particular version is the buoy blade style. Also came in tanto with a bead, or I don't remember what it was. Was it a coating or a bead blasted? I'm not really remembering. I think it was a bead blasted finish on it, so it's very rough and absorbent. Only problem with that is that if you scratch it, it shows up more often. So I don't really like to flip the Tachyon 2, mainly because it takes a little bit of work, which I explained in other videos. You can go check those out. It'd take too long for me to explain, but it takes a little bit of work to get it up to a good flipper. And I just have other Balisongs that I can flip, and I don't really necessarily have to fix that one up to just flip it. But it is a great knife, and probably if you can't get an Alpha Beast, I would recommend getting a Tachyon 2, mainly because I don't think you can actually buy a buoy anymore. You can buy tantos, but buoys you can have to buy in the secondhand market, but they are pretty affordable. It was usually the knife that people would step up from the 51 to go to the Tachyon 2, so it is a really great knife. Has a lot of features that everybody loves, and everybody was calling it the new production kind of 42. It was flipped and looked kind of similar to the 4X series. Not like looked similar, but kind of flipped and was balanced like the 4X series. So it was a very good competitor with the Alpha Beast, but I think more people like the Alpha Beast than the Tachyon 2. Both outstanding flippers. Moving on, Tachyon 1. That was discontinued back in like 06, I believe. My particular model, if I can read that, says 01. So this one was back in 2001. As you can tell, it's shorter than the Tachyon 2 by a pretty good maybe a half an inch. Blade is a little bit shorter too. Personally, I like that size because it's not a full-size balisong, but it's not a small balisong, just kind of in between. Great for pocket carry, EDC, carrying around, just flipping. One thing I really did like about it, which they did have a special version of the Tachyon 2 with this, is the Tachyon 1 had stone-washed handles, where the Tachyon 2 had bead blasted, but the Tachyon 2 also came in a stone-washed finished handles as well. The Bowie had a couple of those, small run of those, and the Tanto, they all have stone-washed handles. So it had a kind of thick T-latch, which I kind of preferred over the Tachyon 2 latch because it had a roll pin, which made it stop and stiff in some spots. That was really bad. But the latch was very intricate and kind of an artsy design Tachyon 2, whereas the Tachyon 1 was more of a just big, bulky kind of piece of metal, kind of round T-latch just for function. So it was great in that sense. It's basically a smaller version of the Tachyon 2, but it's the Tachyon 1. Has block spacers. What more can I say about it? That's about it. Great little EDC knife or pocket flipper. You can just throw in your pocket. It doesn't feel too big in your pocket. Just throw it in there, go out and flip with it. Probably one of the smoothest balisongs. Probably the most fun balisong. I'm not talking like competition or flipping. I just have fun flipping that knife. Almost more than some of the others, just because it's a fun little knife to flip around, or not really little, but mid-range. So really like that knife. Moving on to the last section here, and then we'll finally be close to wrapping up. I'm already pretty zoomed in here. Would you look at that? Alright, these are the Bradleys. These are all my Bradleys. First up is a personal favorite of mine, which I'll try and get a good zoom in on the handles, but this is my, I wouldn't say custom, but it is a kind of a custom in a way. This is a Bradley Mayhem. It was originally the just titanium handled one, just gray, but the guy I bought it from actually had some custom anodizing done, so I'll try and zoom in there so you can see that. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. It has that fire anodizing is what he called it on the handles. Trying to keep my camera stiff so you can see that. Fire anodizing, where it has all those waves on it. So had that custom finish. The screws were actually anodized to brown there. Well, the pins were, the screws were left the same. Move that back out here. Maybe a little zoom in more. Alright, there we go. That should be good enough. So this is the Bradley Mayhem. This was my EDC balisong for the longest time until I finally decided to just retire it, mainly because I just started using it too much. I never really cut anything with it, just did some basic flipping. I might have cut one or two things with it, but when I bought it, it was used to cut some stuff like, not wood or anything, just mainly paper. So it's not heavily used, but it is an EDC balisong, so it is probably the best EDC balisong because it has titanium handles, sandwich construction, has a spring latch on there, which Bradley Mayhems were actually produced by Benchmade, so Benchmade put their spring latch that they had in the 42 on the Mayhem. They also has a little bit of jimping on the top of the spine here, which I can't really get because of the angle, but it's there, so you can tighten up on your grips. So this is truly an EDC balisong, my personal favorite EDC balisong. Haven't used the 53 yet, but hopefully in the future I'll be able to get that and review it. So moving on, this is the Bradley Chimaera 2. A little bit more rare. This was discontinued a couple years ago, I believe, so they don't make these. They don't make any of the Chimaeras anymore, just as a heads up if you were thinking about getting one. But the Chimaera 2 actually went out of production a couple of years ago, I believe. So this was the second Chimaera. The first Chimaera was a, I believe, channel construction, full non-skeletonized handles. So it was just kind of a full piece of metal. This was the second one with sandwich construction, skeletonized handle with this nice hole pattern, and also had these grooves in the back, which are very good for latch drops and latch manipulation there. If you don't want to use the latch, I believe the Tachyon 2 is the only one, not the Tachyon 2, my bad. The Chimaera 2 is the only one with these kind of cutouts here. You can see what I mean. The 3 and the 4 also had the same handle pattern on it, but it did not have these grooves, I believe. So the Chimaera 2 actually was the only one with those hole patterns, which was kind of cool. I liked it. Moving up to my second balisong I ever received was the Chimaera 5. Chimaera 5 was literally the Chimaera 2, same blade, and the Chimaera 1, because the Chimaera 2 1, 2, 5, and 8 all had the same blade style. So the 2 and the 5, the Chimaeras actually came in like kind of 2 sets. The 2 through 4, I believe, were all this handle style, this kind of line, and the 5 through 7 were all the long oval hole with the slight kind of mini oval holes. So basically it was the same blade style. Like for instance, the 2 and the 5 had the same blade. The 3 and the 6, I believe, had the same blade, or the 4. So they all had their own a matching blade, but they all had different handles. So what I'm trying to get at. So the Chimaeras were about $100. They were the best mid-range Balisong of all time, in my opinion. But they were recently discontinued about a couple months ago. The Chimaera 8 was the last to run, which was basically a fixed up Chimaera 5, I guess you would say. It's literally a Chimaera 5, but I think somebody said it had some better washers in it or something like that. So it's basically the exact same thing as a 5, but they called it the 8, and they made a very limited run of about 300 pieces. So that's all gone. All the Chimaeras are gone. Can't find them anymore. But they were, for its time, the best Balisong to buy to get into flipping. It was $100, and it was such good quality, and some people actually liked it more than the 42. Me personally, I could never get to that spot, but it was a great knife. So that's about it, guys. Great, glad we got that out of the way. Sorry for the camera cutting out. It's just I had like 50% power and drained that, and just kind of died on me. So let's see. I'll just go ahead and crank this one up a little bit, just so I can get back here, close out with this shot here. Hopefully I can get a good shot of all the knives for the most part, if I can back it up a little bit more. Close out so I can give you a full shot of the collection without the whole case in there. Kind of in there? Maybe? Alright, well we kind of got all of them in there. Alright, so that's my whole collection, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably be splicing these 2 videos together because I'm kind of tired of making part 1 and part 2 videos because some people don't even watch the part 2 videos. So I'll probably just try and edit these 2 videos together and make one kind of long video. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Love the new case and the stands, which actually I didn't think you got a good shot at the stands, but just in case you didn't, I'll zoom in here. Right there, there's a stand. Right there you can see kind of the grooves in there. The back of the stand. There you go. Those are buck stands that I got for $10 a piece. Came out to like $100 or something. So, alright guys, that's it. Really excited for this new case. I'll probably be doing some more videos with this. Like I said on my update video, I'm going to be making knife photography and stuff of that nature. So if you want to go check out my Instagram page, you can. It's just The Knife Enthusiast. You can go search it up on Instagram and you'll find me. So that's about it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it. Pretty long, but I think it was worth it. So thank you guys for watching. This has been The Knife Enthusiast. Subscribe, like this video. I will see you next time.